ring with the song of your love. Send down the fire of your justice. Send down the rains of your love. Come send down the Spirit, breathe life in your people, and we shall be people of God. Call us to learn of your mercy. Teach us the way of your peace. Give us hearts that feel, give us hands that heal. Make us walk in the way of your peace. Send down the fire of your justice. Send down the rains of your love. Come send down the Spirit, breathe life in your people, and we shall be people of God. And we shall be people of God.
Good morning, St. Francis. It is good to have you here with me today. I wish you were here in this space with me, because I kind of am missing your spirits in this space. Well, I shouldn't quite say that. I feel you here. I just want to see your body as I feel your spirit. It is good to have you here. In 2 weeks, we're going to do something where I'm going to be able to see you even more so. Not your faces, not your physical presence, but I'm going to be able to see your faces. We are making a collage of all our couples because it is Valentine's Day. And so if you would like to have you and your partner in that collage, will you send me a picture of the two of you? And it can be just anyone that you want to. I got some that are quite unusual, and you'll like them a lot. And we're going to put those all together to be able to celebrate love that day. In a different type of celebration, many of you have been getting your COVID vaccinations, and we want to celebrate that. And so will you call the church office and tell Melissa that you've gotten your vaccination, so that we can keep a list and we can tell people how many of us have gotten that vaccination, and how we don't have to worry quite as much as we have been. I want to tell you about one more thing. Many of you have bought one of those Choose Love mugs, like this picture I'm going to show you. And they are up for sale again, and we'd love for you to be able to buy as many as you want. You might want to have, a full set for everyone at your dinner table. Well, that's not too big of a set these days, is it? But for when we get back together, you might want to have a full set of Choose Love mugs, because choosing love is more important than it has ever been. The inauguration a week ago was glorious in proclaiming a new day, and we rightfully and joyfully celebrate, don't we? But it doesn't mean that the work in front of us is done. And we can do that work well, or we can do it not quite so well. The song that the quartet just sang, Send Down the Fire, I'm amazed how often I want to choose who to send the fire on, and not in a good way. And so I'm glad that it has that second verse, the second line that says, send down the rains of your love. Because instead of it just being a vengeful act, it can also be a loving act. In the newsletter, which Melissa has prepared and is available to you, I talk about Joe Biden's day one and all the things that he did. But I say this, it's also our day one to decide once again, what are we going to do? How are we going to step into this moment? And it's not a simple moment. It's a moment fraught with lots of challenges and separations. And we will need each other, and maybe most important, we will need the mystery of the Holy Spirit to somehow guide us through and lift us beyond our first choices only to what is best for all of us. So now, will you join me as we light our candles, and then we listen to our call to awareness.
Good morning. Good morning, St. Francis family. For those in the spiritual family that I've not met yet, my name is Beth. I've been a member of St. Francis since the mid-1990s. When I chose a church, I specifically chose this church because I wanted to raise my son with the idea that there was a mystery out there, and the mystery was part of a faith practice. Now, I think that Sundays, being the first day of the week, is a really good time to be reflecting on how we want to take the mystery, which I perceive as this abundant extravagance love of God, into the week with us and share that among the people that we meet. So for our call to awareness, if everyone could just get in maybe a seated posture, something comfortable, and take a big, long, deep breath and just breathe the mystery of the extravagant love of Spirit in. And then when you breathe out, sink in to that extravagant love and listen to these words. These words are by Karen Kedar from Dance of the Dolphin. Mystery is to be embraced, not avoided. It is the place where the great secrets of the universe are told. In the center of mystery, there sits, like an ancient treasure chest hidden long ago, wonder and awe. Swirling around the edges of mystery is learning, the kind that leads to wisdom. Mystery is the magic dust that transforms the mundane into a life glittering with significance. Once you have found the courage to enter the mystery, you are less likely to be overwhelmed with fear ever again.
Life is a teacher, time is a healer, and I'm a believer, like a river wide. Ego's a killer, greed is a monster, but love is stronger, stronger than them all. White flag in hand, I don't wanna fight. No lines in the sand, I'm on your side. Invisible, no colored life. It's time we put our differences aside. Time tells no lies. It keeps changing and ticking and moving and passes by. But if you're lucky, it will be kind, like a river flowing through time. Like a river, let it wash you clean. Going upstream, like a river, cutting through a rhyme, 'cause it never gives up. So full of life, liquid like time, that'll wash away the pain from yesterday. Love is the answer, hate is a cancer. Hope of forgiveness, it waters the soul. Our blood is red, we're not so different, 'cause underneath our skin, we're identical. White flag in hand, I don't wanna fight. No lines in the sand, I'm on your side. Invisible, no colored life. It's time we put our differences aside. Time tells no lies. It keeps changing and ticking and moving and passes by. But if you're lucky, it will be like a river. Wash me clean. Like a river. Oh, rain down on me. Like a river. All it takes is time to heal this bloodline. Better wash me clean. Like a river. Get this dirt off me. Like a river. Let it wash away the pain from yesterday. Mighty river.
Good morning, St. Francis. Today's children's time will be this book that I'm going to share, The Song of Francis, and it's illustrated and written by Tommy DePaleo. Francis was so filled with the love of God that he wanted to sing, to tell everyone how much God loved them, but he was all alone. Except for a small angel who followed him everywhere. Little poor one, the angel whispered in his ear, sing anyway. The loving God will hear you, and so will I. So, Francis began to sing. Sun and moon bless the Lord, for the Lord loves you. Brother sun was shining. But Sister Moon came into the sky too, because she wanted to hear the song as well. Birds of the air, Francis sang, come and bless the Lord, because the Lord loves you. And one by one, birds came to sit in the tree to hear Francis sing. Red birds and orange birds and yellow birds and purple birds and green birds and violet birds, brown birds and black birds and white birds. They all began to join Francis, the little poor one, in the song. A more glorious sound, a more glorious sight was never seen on the earth before. So, angels came to see and to listen. Love, love, love went the song. Then Francis was silent. His song was over. The angel left one by one to go back to heaven. The birds left one by one to go back to the sky. The white birds, the black birds, the brown birds, the violet birds, the blue birds, the green birds, the yellow birds, the orange birds, the red birds, one by one. Then Brother Sun left the sky. The Sister Moon stayed to light the path because it had turned to night. Then Francis, the little poor one, was alone again, except for the small angel who followed him everywhere. Tomorrow, he whispered to the angel, I shall sing again.
We were born before the wind, also so younger than the sun. There the bonny boat was won as we sail into the mystic. Hark now, hear the sailors cry, smell the sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and spirit fly into the mystic. When that foghorn blows, I'll be coming home. When that foghorn blows, I want to hear it. I don't have to fear it. I want to bless your gypsy soul, just like way back in the days of old. And magnificently we will flow into the mystic. When that foghorn blows, I'll be coming home. When that foghorn whistle blows, I've got to hear it. I don't have to fear it. I want to bless your gypsy soul, just like way back in the days of old. And together we will flow into the mystic. And together we will flow into the mystic.
Hello, my name's Dan Meyer, and I'm here to tell you a couple of things about adult education at St. Francis. About 20 years ago, this is BW, before Wiltbank, the current pastor at the time, David Wilkinson, asked John and Diane Wilson to create an adult education program at St. Francis. Well, they did, and in that time it has thrived and done so well that if you figure 20 years, over 50 classes a year, that's over 1,000 classes that have been offered for the spiritual growth of St. Francis. Everything from ending racism to the sacred feminine, it's been offered here. So, the next time that you see John or Diane Wilson, either in flesh or online, thank them for their contribution. Also, John is at it again. John is teaching a new class. He's created one called Christian Mystics and Mysticism. It's going to be starting the week of March 7th, and it will run for 4 weeks. He'll be offering it twice a week. So check the church calendar to find out which days of the week it's going to be offered. That's Christian Mystics and Mysticism. There are 2 other classes that are currently going on by one of our other outstanding lifelong teachers, Jim Wiltbank. Revolutionary Love, a political manifesto to heal and transform the world, continues. And just this week, he started a new class called Convictions, which features Marcus Borg, one of the finest progressive theologians. So check the church calendar for when those are offered. I hope to see you soon, whenever we can start having adult ed classes on Sunday mornings again.
Dove sail before she sleeps in the sand. How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my before it is washed to the sea. How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? How many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Hi, everybody. Someday we're going to be together in actual physical proximity. Yeah, it's my 88th birthday on Sunday today, so I feel like I've gone playing on 88 keys still, but a few of them don't sit the right note. You know, when I use the word I in our group prayers, it's not that it's about me. I hope it works for you to join with me in a very personal way. And then at times I'm feeling part of a much larger community. So if that works for you, join in with me in that way that you can. Now let's prepare ourselves simply by letting go of all the stuff that goes on in our lives. Take a big breath and bring it all in and let it all out. Bring it in and let it go. God. Mystery. I remember reading that the highest form of understanding is profound humility and awe. Well, those moments are pretty skimpy for me. But I remember just how astonishing it was to see the surprising force of life in a shrub or tree take hold on a vertical rock. Somehow it caught and it got food and water from the face of a cliff. How does life do that? How do people grow up in abusive homes, bruised, wounded? Yet some of us manage to at least partially heal and to grow. Some even thrive. What's at work in that miracle of life? It seems increasingly clear that the only force in the universe that can heal damaged people or broken relations is the power of love and respect, both for ourselves and for others. When I keep trotting out my facts and my arguments, my proofs, whenever I judge the other person in my mind as stupid or contrary, it never changes anything or changes anybody. Our subconscious beliefs and attitudes are so far more powerful, both in them and in me, than any of our conscious thoughts are. God, you're the only power in the universe. How do I change my mind, my heart? Help me. Help me pay attention and watch what's going on in my mind and what it's doing. Spirit of God, help me let go of the way that I've set up the meaning and story about stuff. And let you help me reframe from your viewpoint. Help me, help all of us to put all of our fears, our anger, all our self-righteous judgments in your hands as our gift to you. You deal with them. And then free us to breathe fresh air as we let them go. Now, again. Somehow, I think I know enough to know what I need. Things like the approval of others or maybe more stuff. And yet, if we actually get those things, it's never enough. It never satisfies. Spirit at my core, help me to get clear that everything I need is already inside me. The whole universe is on our side, supporting us in every way possible. It's impossible for me to have an identity that is separate from or different from you, our Creator, our ongoing source of life. We're surrounded by love, enveloped in kindness. Only goodness can come from love. Everything else has to be something of our own making, our own mistakes. Well, I'm something to a mystery even to myself. I want to be happy, but I want to be right. And proving I'm right seems to be my first choice. And that I keep finding out it makes me unhappy and out of joint with others. I keep getting hints that all I really need is to get past my sense of separation from God, from others, even from myself. And really, there are no others. There's just us. And the way we see others ultimately is the way we see ourselves. What I really hunger for is connection to myself, to others, to something larger than myself. I want to join with everyone else to be a human wave of healing in our land. And I think everybody really wants that. And finally, nothing can really separate us, not even what we call death, because we're far more than these bodies that we wear. We're pure spirit. All of us are. It's impossible. We can't be apart from the all, separate from the infinite. How could love ever abandon what it created like itself? We're always safe. We were created whole. And we'll all find our wholeness again, every single one of us. Boy, thank you for that assurance. It means so much. Thank you. Amen.
I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. His pure spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are. Who we are, His pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. Beloved community, we are pure spirits. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. It's pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. Beloved community, we are pure spirit. Beloved community, we are pure spirits.
Job chapter 11, verses 5 to 9. Oh, that God would speak and open lips to you and tell you the secrets of wisdom, for wisdom is many-sided. Know then that God exacts of you less than your guilt deserves. Can you find out the deep things of God? Can you find out the limit of the Almighty? It is higher than heaven. What can you do? Deeper than Sheol. What can you know?
Job is an often misunderstood book, and thank you for that reading today. And happy birthday to Ed as well, and thank you for your prayer. In the book of Job, I want you to consider this section that got read today, and it's spoken by a main character you might not have ever heard of, Zophar. Because most of the time when we read the book of Job, we read a couple chapters at the beginning and 5 or 6 chapters at the end. And those chapters are all characterized by the relationship between God and Job. But the whole of the rest of the book is very different. It's roughly 35 chapters where God is absent, and we're introduced to Zophar and his 2 friends Eliphaz and Bildad. And you've probably never heard of them, but maybe you know them by other names. Names like Jim, or Sue, or Fred, or Mary, or insert your own name here. Because these are Job's friends, neighbors, his church buddies, good and well-meaning people who are faced with the horrible dilemma known as, what do we do now? That dilemma that comes when the unthinkable has happened and you are in the space of taking the next steps. It can be an agonizing, challenging path of balancing all the different concerns within us and around us, as well as issues of justice and mercy, and when each is the appropriate next step. You might notice that we don't always do well at balancing when justice and when mercy is needed. Papa Roach, one of my favorite bands, sings a song called The Ending, where in the chorus it says, "I'm watching all the moves you make. I'm counting all of your mistakes. Can't turn back now, it's too late. Checkmate, there's no defending. This is the start of the ending." And as often happens at the ends of relationship, the author is just looking for the reasons, the opportunity to leave, rather than trying to figure out how to stay together. How easy it is to keep a balance sheet to show why that other person is doing all the wrong things. We saw it this week as Republicans immediately began criticizing the dismantling that the president is doing, the number of executive orders that he's issued, and all the reasons why they don't have to listen. But that type of action takes place on a regular basis. You've probably done it. And for sure, your neighbor is going to be looking at you and saying, "What about your stuff?" every time you go and try to talk to him about his stuff. And if you haven't already taken the time to look honestly at your own stuff, at whatever he might see as fault or deficit, then those things will stand in your way as you try to have conversation with that other person. And I know it's more fun, or at least easier, to look at our neighbor's stuff and complain about whatever's not fixed on their side of the fence. But this assessment of self opens us up to the new world that the divine is trying to call into our hearts, and to the new world that needs to be made there. I watched a movie this week, and it was a fascinating movie directed by Regina King. It's called One Night in Miami. You should watch it if you get a chance. And it's about 4 amazing figures from the 1960s. And it takes place around 1964. Sam Cooke, Cassius Clay, Malcolm X, and Jim Brown. And she has them in a hotel room for a night. And these 4 iconic figures challenge each other to discover what it is that they will do in the midst of this monumental time they're passing through. This time in which they found themselves, in which they were sometimes challenging the other one, and sometimes being challenged by that other person. And that process of challenging, that process of drawing people beyond themselves is hard, but so necessary. Because an honest critique will always trouble us, but it should trouble us, because it draws us towards our better selves. Because it asks the best questions, not just the easy ones. And so often we get caught up in the easy questions, and we stop at that point. An amazing young woman, Rachel Held Evans, spoke these words to us. "I have come to regard with suspicion those who claim that the Bible never troubles them. I can only assume this means they haven't actually read it." How easy it is for us to want to have that easy, simple route, the easy answers, the comfortable way. But true life, a following spirit, draws us down a different road of relationship, which is sometimes a struggle, even in the midst of the joy that it brings us. That's what the book of Job is all about. We try to hold it up as a story about one man's faithfulness, Job, in the midst of all the problems. But it goes on for 36 chapters, looking at all the many ways that knowing the right thing to say and do is not as simple as we often make it out to be. Not because Job's friends are bad, when all the calamities that happened in Job's life came along, they sat with him for 7 days without speaking a word. I'm not certain I could ever do that, because I have all this good advice I want to give. And it's not because the words that they spoke once they started speaking were bad or even wrong. It's because human interactions are difficult and they are challenging to the nth degree. At one point in there, one of Zophar says this to Job: "Can you find the limit of the Almighty?" And that might be a true statement, that we can't quite fit the divine into any of the boxes we make. But we try on a regular basis, and we can use that type of statement to say, see how stupid you are to not understand the Almighty, the Divine One, like I do? And we use that to judge each other. Or how about the other statement that was made, that God knows know that God exacts of you less than your guilt deserves. In the Tanakh, the Jewish Old Testament, it says iniquity, which is a very charged word, isn't it? That you have iniquity. And if I'm speaking that type of thing, and I'm saying that you deserve much more because of your iniquity, it can quickly become a space of animosity. And so those words, while they may be true, also can be spoken in ways that they aren't very helpful. Job's friends were there trying to be good, but the whole of this book, again and again, shows ways that they aren't quite perfect in that goodness, even as they're trying to. It's because that self-evaluation, that stepping into the moment, thinking about more than just ourselves, is difficult. That's why I love what Ibram Kendi did in his book called How to Be an Anti-Racist. He looks and critiques both himself and his family and the people around him to help us to comprehend how we got to be to this space in racial relations without solving this problem, a very blatant and visible problem of racism, and yet here we are without having solved it. Who's to blame, you might say? Well, what he is doing is saying, at least I am partially. I'm looking at myself to see what I could have done differently, what ideas I bought into that perpetuated some of this. And all of us need to do that. An honest look at ourselves, an honest critique of ourselves, of our past choices and our past values, of our successes and our failures, can enable us to move forward in spite of all the unwanted challenges that are out there that we cause and that others cause for us. By the way, that book, How to Be Anti-Racist, has been made into a marvelous movie that you should watch as well. As we're stepping into this world where we will need to challenge each other, in the midst of healing what has gone wrong in America over the last few years, in the midst of trying to solve some of the issues, the divisions, the walls we've built between us, we will need each other. Because in this space, we will challenge each other. And we can do that in horrible ways, such as what Mike Pompeo did this last week, where as he was leaving office, he spoke about how multiculturalism is not who America is. This man, who is supposed to be our greatest statesman, the Secretary of State, left the office continuing to tear our country down, decrying many of the ones he'd sworn to serve. Or we can do that same work in amazingly wonderful ways. We can step into the challenge, celebrating our differences and figuring out how to move forward in wondrous new ways. I have one of my favorite memes that I've shown you ever. Look at this picture. It says, "You dance to your drummer, I'll dance to mine." Now, I don't know what drummer she's listening to, but I think I want to hear it. What an amazing character that is, as she tries to hear that voice that she's hearing and show it to us. The problem is that sometimes when I don't understand your drummer, I want to shut you down. I want to stop you from hearing it. And so do you to me. John Pavlovich wrote an article this week that over and over again said, I'm sad for her. And she talks about a friend who said that President Biden's inauguration was a sad day for America. I'm sad for her. And he goes on and says, I wonder what she was watching that made her sad. She talks about several things. Was it the swearing in of the first female black Asian American vice president? Was that what she was sad about? Was it the radiant countenance of a 22-year-old African American poet laureate? Was that what she was sad about? Was it the glorious prophetic fire of the benediction? As a professed Christian, he says, I have to ask why that was what made her sad. You see, she heard one set of things, and he is in that space of trying to understand how it is that she can hear something so different than what he heard. Look at this meme. In the midst of that separates us, that divides us, that which tells us we don't belong, here's a truth. You'll never look into the eyes of someone God does not love. Because you'll look into those eyes and you'll see someone who, right in the moment, for whatever reason, you don't want to love them. You don't know how to love them. You have plenty of reasons not to love them. And yet God does. God draws that person towards God's self just as much as God does that with you. And we know the separation between us, but the divine does not. I love the story that Nancy Wilkinson read to us today about how one by one, as St. Francis sang, those birds came together and they sang love, love, love. And just like the birds in the story, love is many-colored. And it is when we come together that we realize the whole of what love is and the whole of who we are. Malcolm X, one of the characters in that movie I told you about earlier, said this: when I is replaced by we, even illness becomes wellness. When I am just myself, I have only a piece of me. I am not whole. But when I realize we, wholeness continues and grows, and I become more of who I can be. As I was preparing for this commentary, I had a different problem than usual. And the problem this time is that everything fit everywhere. All the different pieces I had could have been at the beginning or at the middle, at the end, and I couldn't find a storyline. I want always, as I'm doing the commentaries, to find a storyline that at least makes me seem halfway intelligent, and this was flowing in all kinds of different directions. Living in the mystery does that same thing to me. I don't have perfect storylines to tell that fit every situation and every person that I'm with. Living in the mystery makes it so that I have to not be perfect, not have all the answers, not be able to perfectly know the next step. But as Karen Kadar wrote, the mystery is to be embraced, not avoided. Sam Cooke, part of that movie about one night in Miami, from the events that happened there, wrote his final song, which talked about mystery. It's called A Change is Going to Come. And it's a change that he doesn't understand completely, because it takes him out of that space where he was born by the river in a little tent, and it draws him further and further down the river and into the unknown, into what he can't control. Maybe there's no way to truly say the right thing in a moment like this. Maybe this story about Job's friend is to remind us how human beings will always be larger than our control, how life will always be larger than our own control. And maybe that's the point of a story like this, that living in the mystery is important and good and wonderful for us, even when it's difficult, even when we'd much rather have and give the right answer to each other. Imam Jamal Rahman talks about Rumi and how he says how God is the ultimate mystery. And he says Rumi exclaims in exasperation, "The lover visible, the beloved invisible. Whose crazy idea was this? God is the ultimate mystery. Something I can't control, something I can't even understand completely." But Rumi goes on to say this: everything you see has roots in the unseen world. The forms may change, yet the essence remains the same. Every beautiful view will disappear, every sweet word will fade, but do not be disheartened. The source they come from is eternal, growing, branching out, giving new life and new joy. Why do you weep? The source is inside you, and this whole world is springing out of her. In this time of struggle, in this time of trying to figure out the next steps to take, in this time of rebuilding the world where we live, it will be difficult because we will have opposition. We will be opposition to each other, and we will have to trust something larger than just ourselves. We will have to trust and even understand that larger is there, even though we can't understand it completely. There was a young lady that spoke at the inauguration, probably not the one you're thinking of. This was a person who spoke right at the beginning. She did the Pledge of Allegiance, and she spoke with her hands. And there was one particular sign that she used that I just loved. As she was saying, the United States of America, she put her fingers together like this, interlocking them, but not clasped tightly, but loosely. The coming together, the unitedness that we are, is that which allows each of us to still be separate and individual, even though we are connected and together. It's hard to do that if we're being rigid and have only a certain idea. If I have all the right answers, or if you do. But it helps if we can remember all the different ways we can interact. I saw a wonderful meme, and it didn't have an attribution to who it was, but it said, "Remember that you are water. Cry, cleanse, flow, let go. Remember that you are fire. Burn, tame, adapt, ignite. Remember that you are air. Observe, breathe, focus, decide. Remember that you are earth. Ground, give, build, heal. Remember that you are spirit. Connect, listen, know, be still." You see, we sometimes get caught in one particular way to be able to use any one of those. And yet, the very same thing that can burn us can also cook our food. The very same thing that can flood our homes will also cleanse our hands. And for us to too tightly hold on to one attribute of any piece of life, either within ourselves or within the person around us, will hurt us. It takes bravery to do what we are going to do next. It takes courage to do all the hard work that will need to be done to get us from here to wherever we're going to do. But another brave young woman, wonderful, amazing voice, Valerie Quar, said this: we will be someone else's ancestors one day. If we do this right, they will inherit not our fear, but our bravery. Our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and all the generations after need our bravest selves in this moment. The self that draws us together into what can be. But it takes us setting aside our fear of each other. Our quartet is going to sing for us right now, and they're going to sing that song about "Be not afraid. I go before you always." We don't have to worry. We don't have to control. We don't have to, no matter how much we want to. In the midst of all of our work, we have to trust that there is something larger than just us. And when we do that, when we set aside our fear and trust the mystery, then the world will be healed. Amen.
Shall cross the barren desert, but you shall not die of thirst. You shall wander far in safety, though you do not know the way. You shall speak your words in foreign lands, and all will understand. You shall see the face of God and be not afraid. I walk before you always. Come follow me, and I will give you rest. If you pass through raging waters, in the sea you shall not drown. If you walk among the burning flames, you shall not be harmed. If you stand before the fire of hell, and death is at your side, know that I am with you through it all. Be not afraid. I walk before you always. Come follow me, and I will give you rest.
So all day I've been alluding to a certain young voice, a powerful young voice that spoke at the inauguration. So I want to let Amanda Gorman have our final words. And from her poem, "The Hill We Climb," that magnificent prophetic voice that spoke to us all on that inauguration day, she said in part, "And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. Go and embrace one another, even as the mystery embraces us all." Amen.
My soul cries out with a joyful shout that the God great. And my spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fixed your sight on the servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. So from east to west shall my name be blessed, for the world be about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, that the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Though I am small, my God, my all, you work great things in me. And your mercy will last from the depths of the past to the end of the age to be. Your very name puts the proud to shame, and to those who would for you yearn. You will show your might, put the strong to fight, for the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, for the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near,